Philippines would like to welcome you to the webinar on the guidelines on the submission of electronic copies of pleadings and other court submissions being filed before the lower courts. Your honors, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome our first speaker this afternoon. He will present the general overview of the guidelines on the submission of electronic copies of pleadings, as well as some frequently asked questions. But definitely, our first speaker needs no further introduction, as all of us know him very well. So without further ado, let's give the time to the court administrator, the Honorable Raul Villanueva.
Maraming salamat, Attorney Kim. Good afternoon to everyone. Magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. Para kadigdipada kay Ilocano na imbag nga malam yu amin na po nga pada-pada. Well, this is a webinar regarding the guidelines with respect to the electronic submissions of pleadings and other documents before our courts. This was set because in the previous issuance of the Supreme Court and as covered by an OCA circular, that the mandatory submission of electronic copies of pleadings should be by September 2. That's a Monday, 2024. So that's the reason why, among others, we found the need to come up with this particular webinar. And considering that this will cover all the courts nationwide, that's why we had to divide this into at least 4 webinars. So that's why we're having this first webinar involving participants from, I think, the first level courts in Luzon and the NCR, if I'm not mistaken. Without much further ado, I will proceed with my presentation. Let me, of course, just begin with my sharing of my PowerPoint presentation. Let me just okay. So let me see. I will just try to replace. Replace ko na lang so that it can be uploaded. Okay. Yeah. So I hope you can see it already. So Kim, nakikita ba lahat yung by everyone? Can you check?
Yes, sir.
From your Sige. So pasensya na kayo, Your Honors, yung mga judges natin nakasama dito sa sa webinar na to. I may not be able to give my greetings to all of you, considering yun na nga, for lack of material time, so to speak, because we would like to cover as much as we could within this siguro mga 2 hours lang, including my presentation and then later on the MISO, which is the more important one as far as I'm concerned for today's session. So that's why I will just have to proceed, And likewise, I hope you don't mind. I'll make my presentation both in English and in Tagalog, so that's easier for us to communicate with each other regarding this matter. So, to be clear, of course, this is with respect to the electronic copies of pleadings and other court submissions. This is actually covered by AM number 10-3-7-SC and AM number 11-9-4-SC, dated with respect to the resolution of the court dated April 11, 2023. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the effectivity of these guidelines on the submission of electronic copies of pleadings and other court submissions is covered by OCA Circular number 300-2023. So take note, these guidelines took effect on August 27, 2023. So what happened during that time up to April 5, 2024, of a few months ago, is that in all civil cases, because this is a coverage of these particular guidelines, the copies, in portable document format or PDF of pleadings and other court submissions and additional or accompanying documents should be in electronic forms as mentioned, or take note through hard copies, no, using hard copies in the meantime, no. That's from August 2023, no, August 27, 2023 to April 5, no, 2024. So take note, we were still allowing, no, these submissions already, no, or try to while not mandatory, we were encouraging everyone already to do that. And of course, the coverage of these guidelines only with respect to civil cases, those governed by the 2019 amendments, no, to the 1997 Rules of Civil Procedure. So very important, no. When it comes to criminal cases, in the meantime, that is not the subject, no, of these particular guidelines. Of course, the manner of transmittal, as I mentioned earlier already, or gave you and I'm sure you're familiar with this. By the way, I'm just going through the through the guidelines. The presumption is that all of you, if not most of you, or if not most of you, but all of you, no, if not all of you, should be familiar, no, with these guidelines already. That's why we invited not only our judges but also our clerks of court or OICs, no, because both of you, both the judge and the clerk of court or OIC, are supposed not to be furnished with the emails, no, the email addresses sufficient for you to be able to receive, no, these online submissions. So take note in the manner of transmittal, then it should be the PDF copies must be transmitted using the official email address of all the courts. So where can you find it? Of course, it's also there in the guidelines, no. So just take note of that one. That is how the public is supposed to know to what email address these electronic copies, no, of documents and other pleadings should be submitted to. And take note, we recognize that the primary submission from August 27 to August 25, no, may still be through personal filing by registered mail or by accredited courier. So that's a reason why that is still allowed during that period, except that PDF copies, no, should be transmitted, no, within 24 hours from the filing of the said paper copy. Okay, and take note, the date and time of filing, this more or less, no, should be familiar with all of you. When the primary filing is by personal filing, registered mail or accredited courier, then the date of receipt of these pleadings will be the date of and time of filing. But when the primary filing is through electronic transmittal, if there is, no, such an arrangement that is allowed by the court, then the hard copies or the physical copies is no longer required, no, under these rules. So take note, from August 27 to April 5, August 27, 2023 to August 5, 2024, we were still allowing that these primary filings be using hard copies, except that we are requiring that the PDF files should be submitted within 24 hours. So next, of course, with respect to proof of filing, so if it is if the primary manner of submission is personal service, then of course when this was actually received. No, likewise for pleadings filed by registered mail or accredited courier, again when these are received. But when it comes to, of course, pleadings or other submissions electronically transmitted, then the date of the electronic transmission will be considered the date of filing, and there is an affidavit of electronic filing of electronic copies that is required in order that to comply, with what is provided for by the rules, that this is required for other court submissions for which permission for electronic transmittal was not secured from the court. So, and then the electronic copy was submitted. So next, with respect to the electronic file format, this one will, of course, be covered by the MISO after my presentation. But again, you have to be familiar with this electronic format. So the PDF copy must be separated from the electronic copies of any additional documents. So the main pleading should be separate from the annexes to the said pleading. So that is what this is all about, no? And of course, the PDF copy may be electronically generated. Well, either there is an application in the computer allowing the conversion of the Word document, for example, to PDF format or PDF copies, or that the hard copies will be scanned and then sent, no, in PDF copies, no. Those are usually the allowed, no, electronic file formats. Okay, so likewise, just take note that uh, the you know the documents should be separated by properly designating them, and likewise with the attachments. And of course, if the file is big, then you can have it sent in batches. So very important. I mean, the filer, no, meaning the one the parties, no, or councils should file them in batches. No, take note, siguro just for emphasis, no, the guidelines actually speak of two major things. We're talking about civil cases, and then second, we're talking about uh, inbound documents, meaning those documents coming, no, from the parties or councils. So these are the things that are principally covered by these guidelines, and wherein we have to, of course, allow the submissions, and likewise with respect to the filing, no, that's where the our team, our PJ 365, no, should be used, no, for that particular purpose in receiving these inbound documents through the email addresses, and likewise properly filing them and designating them and providing a folder for each and every case. So that means that all your cases, if there are 1,000 cases in your inventory, then you should have 1,000, no, files, no, to designate and to separate all of these cases. They cannot be included in one folder, no? So all cases will have to be separated by a different file. Take note, what is also important is to require the council or party to submit the valid email address. And as early as now, what the court is contemplating insofar as this provision is concerned is this: all throughout the practice, no, of law, by the lawyer, or by the insofar as his practice of the profession is concerned, he should maintain only one, no, one email address in connection with this practice of law. So that is what the court wants. So this is something that you should make sure of every time you receive the email address of a particular lawyer. Of course, if it's a party that is filing, then you should make sure as well that that particular email address really belongs not to the party, to the case. So very important yan for you to remember. As much as possible, lawyers should not come up with different email addresses for each and every case that they handle. And likewise, of course, we include email addresses of the law firms as well, no, if they belong to a law firm. So take note of the receipt of electronic copies insofar as the existence thereof is concerned. It should be, the proof now should be aside from the hard copies in the rolio, from August 27 to April 5, 2004, or August 27, 2023 to April 5, 2024, while we were allowing it in the meantime that it should be that the hard copies can still be submitted, but later on this will no longer be allowed, so what will now serve as proof and receipt of the electronic copies, of course, would be the electronic the PDFs, that we are receiving pursuant to the guidelines. Next, the transmittal of the email format. This is actually the directives, insofar as the filer is concerned. That's why they have to have a subject regarding the pleading or document to be filed, even with attachments or annexes. And then likewise, the body of the email should follow prescribed format, which will continue to be as such, pursuant to the guidelines, unless otherwise modified, by the court. So very important. Section 7 and Section 8 are actually directives, no? Section 8, no, is actually contains, no, Section 8 contains the directives, no, to the filer. So very important that you should be familiar with this as well, because this will help insofar as coming up with a folder, not for that particular submission, no, is concerned. So take note that Section 9 talks about verified declaration, where the primary manner of filing is through personal filing, no, by registered mail or by accredited courier. So, and then finally, take note of Section 11 about the mandatory applicability. So I have been talking about a period, no, August 27, 2023 to April 5, 2024. So that was the period wherein, of course, because it's the first time that we are requiring already the submission of documents in the event that the primary filing is personal service, then we require the PDF copies, no, within 24 hours. And then if it's already, no, in electronic copies, then we no longer require, no, the hard copies. But of course, the proof of the documents that were filed during that period will be what is in the rolyo, if there are hard copies, or of course electronic copies in the file, no, that you created for that particular case. Now, of course, when April 5 was fast approaching, there was a need to determine whether or not this particular mandatory, no, applicability will already be observed. And as you all later on came to know, the court decided, no, to extend the mandatory applicability of the electronic submission of pleadings and other documents to all the trial courts up to September 2, no, 2024. Of course, September 1 is a Sunday, but essentially, if there will be pleadings that will be filed, no, electronically, then this should be accepted, no, as such, no. Anyway, just to be sure, no, that the court now, September 2 is fast approaching. It's a few weeks from now. So before, of course, informing you about the updates, no, regarding that one, let me just as early as now, because we expect that there might be a deliberation, no, on the part of the court regarding the mandatory applicability by September 2 or even September 1 of the electronic submission of pleadings in the lower courts. I would just like to share with you what we feel, no, should be clear, or hopefully, no, should clarify, no, some of your perhaps, no, thoughts about these guidelines. So again, to be clear, we talk about cases, no. So what is covered by the guidelines are basically civil cases governed, no, by the 2019 amendments of the 1997 rules of civil procedure. And then, of course, if we are going to follow Section 11 presently right now in the guidelines, then all these pleadings now will have to be in PDF, no, copies. No longer we're no longer allowing as a mode of transmittal or manner of filing hard copies, no, or physical copies. If the court will of course later on decide to look into the matter further, then we will give you an advice, no, regarding it. But now, because in April, no, of 2024, what was directed was for the electronic copies to be given preference already. So if you notice, that is now supposed to be the norm, except that those who still, no, cannot do so can file the physical copies, but as much as possible the PDF, no, copies should be submitted as well and to form part of the records already, because we expect that since August 2023 up to April 5, 2024, and subsequently new cases that are filed, all the pleadings no should already be in PDF, and there should be already electronic rolios no for these particular cases no. So what else, where should the documents be sent? It's covered by the by the guidelines no. The PDF copy should be through the official email addresses, and take note because we cover also initiatory pleadings. So what will happen is that the receipt that will be generated by the JEPs or the manual no copies of the receipts that will be generated for purposes of payments amounting to not more than 1,000 pesos should be scanned, and then of course submitted no as part of the initiatory pleadings with the PDF copies no. So that is how it's supposed to be done. So when should the documents be transmitted? Of course it should be submitted no at the day or night no of the day that it may be due. So in other words, of course, subject to further directives no on the matter because of a recent ruling of the Supreme Court, wherein when you talk about electronic copies, actually the deadline for the submission thereof is not only during office hours, but also but actually up to prior to midnight no of the same day. So if the deadline of the filer or the lawyer is today, for example, then the electronic copies can be submitted even beyond office hours, and on or before, if the deadline is today, then on or before 11:59 no p.m. no of today no. So that is in effect no the period no within which the electronic copies should be filed. Take note that what is considered as proof of filing, this have been discussed already as covered no by uh, Rule 13. The proof of filing is the date when the electronic copies no were transmitted. When you talk about hard copies, then the date of actual filing or receipt of the court no with respect thereto. Then what is the file format of the documents for submission? Remember, this is something that the filer no should be familiar with. So but you have to also know so that you will know where, how, and when, where, and how not to file these particular pleadings, because you need the information with respect to the subject, and then of course the body no of the pleading itself no. So how does the filer generate the PDF copy of the court submission? Like I said, two modes so far that are recognized or at least are known. One is there is an application that would convert a Word document into a PDF no copy, or the physical or manual or hard copies will be scanned and then sent no in PDF copies no? So that's how usually it will be generated no. But take note again, just to no to stress no when we talk about the guidelines, principally we talk about inbound documents, but later on, based on information that we gathered no there might be some discussions with the court regarding some amendments or clarifications, like for example involving criminal cases no. But for now, we just have to stick to what is provided in the current guidelines. So what happens if the pleadings submitted are not in PDF copies? Then obviously this cannot be considered as having been filed no. So and if for example aside from the main pleading, the attachments, for example, if the main pleading was filed properly in PDF copy, but the attachments were not, then this will consider the attachments will be considered as not having been filed as well. So is there a prescribed format for the file name and pleadings? or court submissions, or well, I guess as I mentioned earlier, the guidelines no provide for that one. But again, so that you would be able no to properly come up with the folders no for each and every file or case that you will be receiving electronically. The MISO no will be the one to discuss this a little further no later. So what can the court do if it needs original hard copies of pleadings or other court submissions for now? Because only one copy will be submitted, and then we do not encourage the court already to print all of these documents that are electronically submitted, because you need to be used. You need to get used, no, to already receiving only electronic copies no of pleadings and other documents. So if there is a need for hard copies, for example, for purposes of serving the summons, no, because you cannot serve summons electronically for now, in order to acquire jurisdiction over the person of the parties, no, then you may, but to a certain extent, secure such copies from the petitioner, no, or the complainant, for purposes of serving them, no, to the parties. So if there are 10 parties, defendants, for example, then you can ask for copies, no, from the plaintiffs, no, regarding the said required number of copies. So what is the format for the transmittal email subject? Again, like I mentioned, this is included in the guidelines. The MISO will further discuss this matter, because I expect them to illustrate this to you further, no, and for you to hopefully get a clearer idea on how to create these folders for each and every case. So what is the format for the body of the transmittal email? Again, this is in the guidelines, no? So yeah, but as an example, you indicate the filer should indicate the date, the docket number, the case title, their contact numbers, email addresses. Take note, since we only require one email, later on there is no need, no, for other emails. And then of course the title of the attachments, because if there are attachments, these are covered by separate files, no, transmitted electronically. So what if the attachments exceed the maximum size allowed by the email service provider? Then obviously it should be sent in batches, no? And the filer should identify each and every batch. May a single transmittal email contain pleadings in multiple cases? Well, as much as possible, one PDF copy should contain only the transmittal pertaining to one pleading, and then the attachments in separate email copies, no, or email transmittals. What email address of the filer should be used to send court submissions? Again, I think I have discussed this earlier. It's in the guidelines. They should use the email address that is regularly, no, being used for purposes of their practice of law, no, the lawyers, and of course the law firm should also have one email address, no, to be used with respect to all the cases that are being handled by you. So what is the effect if the filer fails to monitor the inboxes? Like I said, then they can be considered as not having filed, no, this said pleadings. And then what is the effect of the transmittal to the email that is not of record? Then obviously it's considered not filed as well. How do you prove the receipt of electronic copies? Again, based on, of course, the date of the receipt, no, of the said transmittal, and of course there should be an acknowledgement. So take note, that's why you are also required to look into your emails, no, every time that I mean, at a regular on a regular basis. Now, as early as now, regarding this monitoring of these particular submissions, I need to remind you that the clerk of court, I know, is has an email address, official email address. Of course, the the judge has one, but the one where all of these email submissions should be, or electronic submissions should be coursed through is the email account, of the clerk of court. Now, sometimes there is a need for access, on the part of two more that I want you to get used to already. That which who may be who may be tasked later on to monitor these submissions, and they are the court interpreters and the docket clerks or the OIC, as the case may be. So, in other words, we are no longer limiting access, to the official email addresses, but to the clerk of court and to the judge, but also to the court interpreter, considering that the court interpreter should be familiar with the cases, of course, that are being set for trial, and of course the docket clerk, in this particular case civil docket clerk, considering that they're supposed to manage these particular uh, folders, civil cases, that are filed in court. So very important, as early as now, for you to know that, that they have to be involved. Now, later on, if there is a need to provide them with email addresses or sharing of email addresses, the MISO will be the one to inform you about it. So, are outbound court documents required to be served or sent electronically? Take note, you're talking about orders coming from the court, or even decisions coming from the court. So, or notices coming from the court. Take note, this is something that we are encouraging. But of course, we will see if there are specific guidelines that need to be promulgated for this particular purpose. But of course, if the parties agree and the judge is willing to allow it, then that should be put on record for purposes of allowing outbound transmission electronically of court issuances. Except, of course, like I said, summons in the meantime, because for purposes of acquiring jurisdiction over the person of the defendant or the respondent, in a particular petition, we still have to rely in the meantime, to providing them copies through personal service or substituted service. How will the electronically transmitted initiatory pleadings be raffled to a court in a multi-sala station? So take note, if the cases are filed before the OCC, then so long as everything is complete, including the payment of the legal fees, then the OCC will transmit the records upon raffle, to a particular branch electronically, through the official email address of the court to which the case was raffled to. Okay. So when is the mandatory date of applicability of the guidelines? Take note, it's supposed to be September 2, within the few weeks. But what I would like to say is that for now, we have to wait for the developments after further deliberation on the matter by the court before September 2. So how will the clerks of court, the docket clerks, monitor the pleadings or other court submissions electronically filed? Obviously, you need to always regularly monitor. In fact, because sometimes the deadline is up to 11:59 before midnight, of a particular day, then immediately the first thing that needs to be done, first thing tomorrow, the following day, should be to look into the emails, in your official email addresses. Finally, how will the filer furnish the other party or counsel to the pleading or other submission electronically submitted? Then, of course, the filer shall furnish the other party or counsel through the email, provided for by the party or counsel on record and filed with the court, and CC. Take note, through email by indicating their email address on record or file with the court in the carbon copy or CC. So in other words, you have to indicate that that you have copy furnished. And then, of course, this is with the exception of initiatory pleadings, because like I said, at that point in time, you're not yet familiar, supposedly, of the email addresses of the parties until the court acquires jurisdiction over them. So let me continue by a few more things, reminding you of OCA Circular Number 117-2024. Very important ito. In the event that there is there is a decision on the part of the court regarding the mandatory applicability of the guidelines, no, by September 2, 2024. If, for example, there is a need to further extend this to another deadline or another period, just take note that insofar as what will be required, no, until that time, for example, September 1 up to another period, you have to now make sure that the parties, no, submit not only, no, hard copies but principally electronic copies, no, in your email addresses. So yun na ngayon talaga, which is being done since April 5, 2024. So if there will be some directives on the court regarding another period, no, for this particular matter, just take note that you need to insist that the parties should submit already electronic copies of what they are filing, no? Because we need you to be ready, we need you to be prepared when we will no longer be requiring hard copies. But in the meantime, that we're doing that, one of the things that I would like to clear is that you remind the parties, the filers, to keep the hard copies of their pleadings, because the principal mode should be electronic copies. And of course, in the event that you need them to resubmit this particular electronic copies, then the documents should still be available, no, for electronic transmission. Now, let me just share with you the report that we submitted to the court. That's why there might be a deliberation, no, on this particular matter. First, we did a survey regarding the compliance of our courts with respect to the civil cases that they have and whether or not electronic copies are actually being submitted with respect to pleadings and other submissions before our court. So take note, from regions 1 to 12, judicial regions 1 to 12, and the NCJR, or the National Capital Judicial Region, the total of original the number, no, of first level courts with responses, no, regarding the survey is about 879, so 79%. For second level, the number of those who submitted their responses to the survey, out of 1,349, there were 839, no, submissions, no. So based on this particular data, only 66% total, no, of our courts nationwide submitted their compliance to this survey. So very important. If you're not one of them, then you need to make sure that you comply, no, with this particular requirement to record, of course, and to inform us, no, of the compliance with respect to the submission of PDF copies, no, of pleadings or documents, no, to the courts. Take note, the tally of submissions of pleadings in civil cases as of April 30, 2029. So it would appear here that let me just so per court level, per region, no? So you can see here that with respect to the first level courts, because the webinar right now is for first level courts. So the current number of civil cases wherein PDFs are being required for submission and are being submitted, there's a big discrepancy. So in other words, you are not implementing strictly the requirements as provided for in the guidelines. So very important, no? So in all regions. So take note, for first level, regions 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this particular data, no, shows that there is a big discrepancy of filers not complying with the requirement to submit PDF copies of their pleadings or other court submissions. Likewise, for regions 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, the same. Insofar as the number of cases wherein electronic copies of pleadings and documents are being submitted, there are fewer that are doing so during the survey that we conducted. Again, for regions 10, 11, 12, and the NCJR, again, it's the same. No? So there is there's a big discrepancy between those that we are being able to require for submission of PDF copies of their pleadings as compared to those who could not. So, and of course, what are the reasons? Many of the reasons, technical issues and infrastructure challenges. Of course, we know that there is a need to provide you what you need for purposes of these electronic submissions. And then, of course, resource constraints or the office supplies. Well, supposedly, if we are requiring already PDF copies, then, well, essentially, you're not supposed to have them printed anymore. Because the judge now, and this is something that the court would like to impress, and or stress, that you have to get yourselves used to reading all the pleadings, and of course, preparing your orders or decisions based on the electronic copies, no longer the hard copies. No, that is what the court wants everyone to eventually get used to. Of course, compliance and awareness. Lack of awareness among parties regarding the guidelines. So we ask you to make sure that the parties are aware that we have guidelines that require them to submit electronic copies already of their pleadings. And then, of course, procedural and document challenges, issues with, of course, the formats. That's why the MISO will be here so that hopefully things will be clear with many of you. And then, of course, the operational impact difficulties in integrating electronic submissions with existing records. That's why we're only moving forward in the meantime. We're not asking you to digitalize all the records that have not been, where the pleadings were not submitted in electronic form. And of course, there's also the challenge wherein your outbound issuances are not yet in electronic form. But now you have to get used to it already. In civil cases, that is what we would like you to do right now. That even your copy should be already in PDF. When you release them, since the manner of issuing and sending this still is using the physical copies, then my suggestion really is you have this already converted into PDF and then include them in your files so that this will also be arranged chronologically. Of course, the financial constraints, additional cost for the courts, lack of funds for necessary, and of course, facilities. We know that, and that's the reason why perhaps there is further discussion on the mandatory applicability of these particular guidelines by September. Like I said, there will be discussions regarding this. So if there is a need for us to issue a circular to clarify the matter, especially on the mandatory applicability on or before by September 2 or September 1, then rest assured that we will come up with one before that date. And of course, some challenges, security concerns regarding, of course, disseminating information and even the data in the electronic files. Again, this will be duly addressed, but in the meantime, insofar as furnishing parties copies of our pleadings on file electronically, this will have to be governed still by our prevailing guidelines on disclosing or furnishing the public, non-parties with copies of court pleadings, or court documents or even issuances. So I guess that's it, for me right now. I think I'm done already. So I'm just giving you an overview. I'm just giving you what you need to know, and some perhaps to answer, what you have in mind regarding these guidelines. But again, like I said, MISO will provide you with the technical information. I think that's the more important thing also with respect to this webinar, and also to inform you that in the event that there will be developments, then we will immediately inform you about it. So with that, maraming salamat sa inyo. Thank you for joining this webinar. The rest of this webinar now will cover the presentation coming from the MISO. So maraming salamat sa inyo.
Thank you so much, Court Ad.